December 6, 2017 meeting of the Windsor Planning Commission will now come to order. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Gail Schick,
Present.
Victor Talon,
Present.
Travis Yeast,
Present.
Dan Foreman,
Present.
Jerry Bushelman,
Present.
Mike McWilliams,
Present.
Tim Annabelle,
Present.
Ken Bennett,
Present.
The first item on tonight's agenda is the review of the agenda itself by the Planning Commission for any addition of items or new business to be added to the agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept the agenda as written.
Second. It's been moved by Commissioner Talon, second by Commissioner McWilliams, that we accept the agenda as presented. Those in favor of the motion will vote yes. Those opposed, vote no.
Mr. McWilliams,
Even if you're not on the screen, it's still.
And motion carries unanimously. Next item is public invited to be heard. If there is anyone in the audience who has an item that they wish to present to the commission that is not on tonight's agenda, now is the time to do so. And if you have something, if you could come to the podium and give us your name and address, and you basically have a 3-minute time frame to give us your information. Seeing there be none, we'll keep moving. We'll go through the consent calendar. This evening's consent calendar consists of the approval of the minutes of the November 1st, 2017 meeting.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the minutes of the November 1st, 2017 meeting.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Talon, second by Commissioner Annabelle, that we accept the consent calendar as presented. Those in favor of the motion will vote yes. Those opposed, vote no. And motion carries unanimously. Moving on to the board action items. First item is recommendation to the town board for an ordinance amending specific sections of the Windsor Municipal Code. Devin, you got the floor.
Thank you, Chair Schick, Planning Commission. This past August, Colorado Senate Bill 17129 was approved, amending the statute basically requiring county clerk and recorders to retain Mylars. This has prompted staff, as we have wanted for a while, to get away from Mylars. Currently, we are running out of room for storage, like many county clerk and recorders are. So we've basically taken a look, and this ordinance is to amend chapters 15, 16, and 17 so that we no longer have to require Mylars, and we'll be able to require electronic or paper, etc., and reduce our storage costs. As you can see, I've outlined just a few rough estimates of costs. This past year, just for an additional storage cabinet, we spent around $3,400 and $1,000 for Mylar hanging strips, and then on top of that, it's cost employee hours about 120. This amendment to the ordinance would also allow staff to update our submittal standards for final documents as things change, as technology changes, etc., without having to come back every time. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission forward a recommendation of adoption of ordinance amending specific sections of the Windsor Municipal Code with respect to approval, document submittal requirements, and land use matters.
Anything else, Devin?
That's it, unless you have a question.
Any comments, questions from the commission? Mr. Talon?
I think this is a very good thing. Our technology's come a long way, so we don't need to have this hanging up in a room somewhere. We can pull these up very easily, so I think it's a good recommendation at this time.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a big hit on DuPont, though.
Yeah.
Any other comments, questions?
Mr. Chair, I move that we forward a recommendation of adoption of the ordinance, amending the specific sections of the Windsor Municipal Code with respect to the post-approval documents, submittal requirements, and land use matters. Second.
been moved by Commissioner Talon, seconded by Commissioner Foreman, and that we forward a recommendation of adoption of the ordinance that we were discussing here. Those in favor of the motion will vote yes. Those opposed, vote no. And motion carries unanimously. Everybody sees it before I do. Quick, that's quick. Okay, moving on to the next item, which is a site plan presentation for East Point Subdivision Lot 5. Paul?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Planning Commissioners. Just 1 second, I'm sorry. So this site plan presentation has been reviewed in accordance with Municipal Code Article 9, Chapter 17. The site is the Human Bean Coffee Shop located south of State Highway 392 or Main Street to the east of State Highway 257 in the new East Point subdivision. The site is zoned general commercial or GC. The overall development characteristics include a lot of approximately 0.9 acres. About 23% of the area is landscaped. The building is 690 square feet, includes drive-through lanes on 2 sides. There's outdoor seating and there are 12 parking stalls. The building itself includes wood siding, brick and metal as the predominant finishes. Building height is 19 feet. There's a flat roof that's broken up into multiple planes. This is the site plan with 392 or Main Street to the north. There's a right-in, right-out access point. This street is the connection to the future roundabout on 257 across from the cemetery. The building is located here in the center with 2 drive-through lanes, seating area to the north. And landscape plan showing landscaping along the private drives and Main Street. The building elevations, again, a mix of 3 different prominent materials with different roof heights and the drive-through windows. As always, this is a site plan presentation for your informational purposes. Should you have any questions, comments, please direct those to staff at this time. I do want to note the applicant's team is here should there be any questions for them.
Okay, thanks, Paul. I do have a question as far as the color scheme of the building.
So I would ask the applicant to address that.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Janae. You're just asking what kind of color scheme is going to be on there. It's going to be like a copper penny is the corrugated metal siding, which you'll see in the center.
Okay.
There's a brick. It's pretty standard brick color. It's got a little bit more of a washed look to it, a little bit more.
Earth tone? Earth tone color?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And then the wood siding is very similar to the wood work in here.
Okay.
Anything else?
Any other questions from the commission?
No.
Guess not.
All right, thanks.
Since this is site plan presentation, we don't have any a vote on that, so anything further, Paul, are we okay on that one?
That's all.
Okay. Moving on to the next agenda item, which is a site plan presentation for Eagle Crossing Subdivision, 5th filing, Lot 2. Melissa.
Hello. I think I've met some of you, but not all of you, but I'm the new senior planner. Nice to meet
Well,
you.
you've been lucky so far.
Let me see if I can find the right one I'm looking for here. Okay. So this too is a site plan presentation. This is occurring in Eagle Crossing Subdivision, Lot 2. Again, it's reviewed with Article 9 of Chapter 17 of the Municipal Code. The vicinity map, if you remember, I think it was last week, the Brand's Liquor Store came through. This is over in Fairgrounds and Crossroads Boulevard. This particular lot is just south of there, on the corner there. And this is a site that's zoned general commercial. It is for a Fuzzy's Taco restaurant. The overall development characteristics include the just over an acre lot, the landscaping that meets code parameters and design or commercial corridor design standards. It's a 5,700 square foot building, 65 parking stalls. The building is a mix of materials as well, wood siding and stucco in earth tone colors and with metal accents, both a brown and a black. The building height's about 25 feet. It does have a varying roof line, so some of those might be a little bit taller. It has a covered entry feature and also enclosed patio area. We are working, I'll get to this a little later, but we are working with the applicant on some of the design aspects of it, and that's what I was just going to talk about, but I'll get to that a little later. So here's the site, again, Fairgrounds and Crossroads. The building will be located toward the road corner, so that's a nice corner building. Parking lot toward the interior where the 7-Eleven will be on this side and Brand's Liquor up to the north. And the adequate landscaping that's associated with the building. And here it is. Building elevations, again, it has the varied roof line. Since these elevations have come through, we're working with the architect to have a little bit more parapet to shade or screen the roof-mounted equipment. So that's coming. So you'll see them in this, but we've got slightly new designs coming through. Again, to screen the roof equipment here. We're also working with the architect and the applicant about getting the sign brought down so that it's flush with the roof line, which is the signs aren't supposed to see past the roof line. So that's coming. The other element that we're working with the architect and applicant on is getting a greater mix of building materials. This stucco, per the commercial corridor code or plan, wants us to limit it to 35%. So we're working with them to bring in a couple other materials to do that. But we feel comfortable enough that the site plan only needs a few modifications and the building is headed in the right direction, that we bring it to you for comment.
Okay. I guess one of the questions I had was the same one I had the item before.
The colors.
Color scheme?
They're earth
Since
tone
they're electronic,
colors.
we can't do color renditions or what?
Yeah. They are tans. I should have stuck the existing Fuzzy's restaurant in there. There's some similar color scheme. Basically, it's a tan, not too dark tan, not a really light tan that will come out white in the sun, but most of it's tan. The parapet here, I believe it's gray or black or brown. Black. And then some of the trim is of black color too. So.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Jerry?
One question I had a couple meetings ago, we talked about the beverage. It's going to be north of it, and they were going to use some additional parking spots from Fuzzy's. Is that taken into account with the 65 parking spots, or?
So that was actually for the site to the east, the undeveloped site. So it wasn't actually the site. I think they have planned for, I think and understand there'll be kind of cross parking between the different users. I think all the property owners and businesses are on board with that.
But there's enough to meet the requirements?
This particular site does meet the parking requirements.
Any other
There are
comments,
some cross
questions from the
easements.
Commission? Anything else, Melissa? Anything else?
No, thank you.
Okay. Since this is a site plan presentation, we don't need to do an action item on this, so thank you very much. We'll move on to the next one, which is another site plan presentation, Falcon Point Subdivision, second filing, Lot 1. And Melissa, I believe you got this one too.
I'm here for a little while.
Going to trial by fire here again, huh? Stand you up, shoot them down.
Apologize, I think I had that on. But anyway, this one is a site plan presentation for Falcon Point Subdivision. It's for the East Windsor storage. Again, Article 9 of Chapter 17, Qualified Commercial Site Plan Review. The site is also located near 257 in Main Street, near where the coffee shop was. This one's located in an industrial area just south of that area. So light industrial, site location. Development characteristics include about just under 7-acre site. They've got the adequate landscaping per the zoning. It is planned as a 119,000 square foot facility. It has a large component is the enclosed storage buildings, and then there's also a 1,000 square foot office. They're all pretty much 16 feet in height, except for the office areas in the corner area where they have some monument towers, which raise it to about 24 feet in height. There are storage units designed around the perimeter, and there is adequate parking and access to the site. This particular plan is a phased plan. They have two phasing. One right now that focuses on the eastern portion of the site, which is about 65,000 square feet of it, and the office area. And then the phase 2 would be on the western portion of the site. So here's a complete site plan. Again, north up here is Main to 392, and then it takes access off of Falcon Court. So there's a site landscaping plan, and then I'll go on into the phasing plan. So this is the area that would be part of phase 1. We have worked, or the applicant has some minor changes, not major changes to the idea, but that's coming. I'll put it on here where there's some separation in the building. There are some gaps in the building, and these would have fencing along it. Here's an elevation that thankfully has some color to it, and that is reflective. It's the gray tones here, as the wainscot that is required for the industrial buildings. So it is a mix of the wainscot veneer, stone veneer, some stucco, some metal combination. Down here shows the building outlay in the phase 1. So in the phasing plan of this, sorry if it's making you ill, this back wall will be treated the same as any of the exterior walls would be treated, and the future exterior walls. So what you'll see is this top area, same kind of treatment will be on that end of phase 1 wall. So here's other elevations. Interior walls will be more closer to the metal and not so decorated. Here's an example of the color scheme, the type of buildings, and the walls or the fencing that will be there for both permanent along the front and then also in the temporary areas between the buildings.
So this will be the same color theme that you're showing right now?
I believe so. Is it pretty close? Yeah.
No chartreuse and anything like that?
No. Not unless it's in the vegetation. So I think we're good. Here's just some views of it from 392. It'll be back. It's quite a way back, though. And another view from it. And again, this is the complete presentation. If you have any questions, you can let me know.
Questions, comments from the commission?
Nope.
Again, since this is an item we do not have to take any action on, we'll move to our next one. And our next agenda item is another site plan presentation for Westwood Village Subdivision 8th filing. Melissa? Did you take a break or anything?
No, I'm good. It's a little warm up here, but that's okay.
Just gotta check.
Okay, so another site plan presentation. This one's on the west side of Main Street, Westwood Village. Qualified commercial site plan, Article 9 of Chapter 17. So the site's located here. You might remember it's in the larger Columbine medical area that's surrounding here, and these are the patio homes that are that were just recently constructed. So this is Main Street. We are in a general commercial zone with that design commercial corridor overlay, of course. So this is a 3-acre site, a little bit over that. It also has its landscaped area according to what the code calls for. This has two-story buildings with a combined footprint of 54,000 square feet, 56-suite skilled nursing facility, which is the one that's going to be fronting Main, and then a 31-unit independent living facility that will be fronting 14th Street. It has amenity spaces, libraries, teaching kitchens, media rooms for the residents. They've got parking. Their parking situation, they have 69 on site for employees and visitors, and they also have additional 20 on the immediate site next to it at the Windsor Medical Clinic, which was not something that's exclusive to the Windsor Medical Clinic according to its site plan, and there's some provisions in the code that allows that to happen. Both access, or the access for both buildings is on 14th Street off of private drive. That it also takes you to the patio home area. So this has architectural design themes that are compatible to the Columbine Commons in the patio homes area. It's kind of all by the same folks. Masonry brick, lap siding, panel system siding, metal and shingle roof combination, also in earth tones. And I apologize, I don't think I have a color one on this one either. But building heights are 37 feet for the independent living facility is the one that's on the 14th Street frontage, and then the 35-foot skilled nursing facility along Main. It's a pitched roof and a covered entry feature. So those two last aspects about the height are coming in the next agenda item. So here's the site plan. Here's Main. Here's 14th. This is the skilled nursing area. This is the independent living. Parking and access comes off of the private drive here, and then into the back area. Landscape plan here. And then building perspectives. This is the patio home area. 14th is over here. Main is
Color
along
scheme
here.
will be black and white.
Yep. If that's earth tone. Tans, a combination of tans. And I might have one here, I might be wrong, but I don't recall one. So you can see kind of an idea of what the scale will be next to the existing facilities. And here's a view, this one coming from Main Street as if we were looking south, and kind of southwest, and this is kind of looking southeast. These are both the skilled nursing facilities, and then over here is the independent living. So this is perspective of the independent living, just trying to show that they have some articulation and some variances in height of the roof pitch to give it some breakup of the mass. Here's some side views of the north and south of that independent living. And then we also have the skilled nursing facility. It has a bit of a parapet to help hide the rooftop equipment, but it also has a pitched roof behind it, and also helps with the vertical aspect of it to break it up into a kind of a rhythm. And then the side elevations. And that is information that I have here. Again, the earth tones will be a bunch of tans, and we can get some more information for you if you need it from the applicant.
Comments, questions from the commission on this item? No. Since this was for presentation only, we'll move to the next item, with request for commercial corridor height waiver and lesser offset for Westwood Village Subdivision 8th filing. It's the Melissa Show. Go ahead.
This one is related to our last item and has an action to it. It's both a request from the height limit of the commercial corridor plan, and it's also a lesser offset request according to the code for the general commercial zoning district. So that would have been easier if I just flipped here to just read off there. But again, it's the Westwood Village subdivision with the Columbine Independent Living and Skilled Nursing Facilities. Again, it's the commercial corridor plan has a limit of 30 feet unless the waiver is granted by Planning Commission. And then the municipal code section 161930 talks about building location. They have a offset at 20 feet unless the Planning Commission approves otherwise, as long as it's no less than 10 feet. So this request is to move it down from 20 feet to the 15.3 feet. And then also moving up from the 30-foot requirement to 35 and 37. Actually, I should have put both on. 35 along Main and to 37 along 14th. Again, here we are, Main Street and 15th, approximately 14th. General Commercial District, but it has that overlay from the commercial corridor. Here's the site plan again. Again, the building height's 37 for the independent, 35 for the nursing. Offset is over here on this side. It's the eastern. Trying to get that down to 15, a minimum of 15.3 feet, which would be this bottom corner here. Again, profile, building elevations. This is the side that the offset is talking about. Again, you can look at the pitched roof and see how that looks on the different elevations, because that's the subject here. So the commercial corridor plan talks about that building height, and we are reviewing it to do a waiver of that. In the commercial corridor plan, it gives some criteria, what should be looked at. If there's practical difficulties or undue hardship, or if it's an improvement to what's there, or if it won't be detrimental to public interest. So upon looking at the applicant's description of why they need to include that, and also looking at our views of what the criteria are, the applicant is using building codes that have some aspects, because it is a medical related facility, that they need certain distances between the floors and on the roof for mechanical pieces. And then to get the pitched roof in there instead of a flat roof, it pushes it up to the 35 and the 37 on the two different buildings. Another criteria, if the variances or the waiver is approved, if there's any public interest. So the arguments on this side is that the slope portion of the roof is set back, and it's not right immediately on the street, so that the height is over the middle of the building and not necessarily straight on the street. The parapet does provide that visual vertical articulation to break up the building, and it also screens the roof equipment. And it is designed to be compatible with the whole complexes, that medical complex over there, the column columns and the medical health. And they are making an effort to do the that's what I forgot. I have a material sample board upstairs or downstairs, and I did not bring it with me. I apologize. But they are using high quality materials and have given us material samples and colors for the buildings. They've also provided us with a shadowing study to see if it would lead to any issues during like winter solstice, when the sun's low and shadows onto the street. And they've also addressed a number of things that are in, even though it's not necessarily outlined by the code, there's another section that talks about other things to consider when height is of question, and that's views, light and shadow, privacy, and neighborhood scale. And again, these have been addressed by the applicant, and it's not seemingly going to impact views. They've done the light and shadow. It doesn't seem to cause any disruptions. The majority of it would be in the 30-foot front setback. The privacy issue, one thing they've done with the height, and this is also with the waiver, is that when it does get close to that property line to the east, it does step down, so it's not as flush of the tallness right against that property line. And then neighborhood scale, again, that these are designed to be compatible with that whole area and the whole theme of the medical plant. So again, this is the area that gets above the 30 feet. It's up to 34 in this particular aspect of it. So it's not the whole building, it's just kind of the setback area here to allow for that pitched roof in this area here. And again, on the sides, this is the one that's along Main. And here's the shadow analysis. In summer solstice, sun is high, there's some shadowing here. Doesn't quite get into the street travel lanes.
And those shadows are in the correct color on the drawing.
So unless you have any questions on the height, I'm going to move on to the offset topic.
Okay.
So the lesser offset, this has to do with the east property line, again, with the 20 feet that's requested by code, unless the Planning Commission allows for anything lower down to 10 feet. So this is along the east property line. And these are some of the reasonings that the applicant has provided for this argument. One is that the property immediately to the east is commercial zoned. There is an existing residence there right now. It's located on the eastern portion of the property with a drive in between. The nursing building is designed and is to step down as it gets closer to that property line, so that is a roof height of 18 feet, just over 18 feet, almost 19 feet, to an attempt to make it not as a vertical impact onto the adjacent property. Again, this is a piece of the campus that they're working on as a whole cohesive neighborhood. The lesser offset does not create a fire or building code issue, and the existing easements on the site will not be impacted. One thing that staff looked at is that this does function a lot like a multifamily situation, and in our multifamily zone, the offset is a half foot per foot of the structure, vertical foot of the structure, which this proposed offset will meet. And then also there is still some room left for some vegetation between portion of the building and the property line to help out with some of that screening between the two. So here it is again, the step down on the eastern portion of the lot. This is looking from the south to the northeastern portion of the lot, step down. Here's the model version, and then here's the site plan version. We do have some questions going back and forth with the applicant about the need for access to the back here and whether or not we have to push out some of this vegetation a little bit, not quite into the easement, but to allow for that access. But that's ongoing, and that we think we can address internally. So this particular one, staff is recommending approval for each of them. One, section 2.B.2 of the commercial corridor plan to allow for that 37-foot independent living along Main and the 35-foot nursing facility along 14th. And then also for that lesser offset to that 15.3 in the southeast corner and to that 18.1 in the northeast corner, based on the findings of this report.
Okay, thank you. Any comments from the owner's representative, or are they even here?
I'll try to get
Make sure
quicker with my
everybody gets to
presentations.
throw their 2 cents in. Comments, questions from the commission?
Sure.
Jerry?
I have a problem with reducing the offset for the setback when they have a full block, city block to work with. I can see reducing the offset if you have something that demonstrates a need, but this is more of a want. And I'm kind of concerned that they have a full city block to work with, and we still have to reduce our setbacks.
Sure.
So,
Something I struggled with too, especially with a new build. Something that we talked about as well internally, especially with a new build, the need to have that additional area.
Tim, you had a question?
Yeah, so I understand on the height restriction, that's a good demonstration of the actual hardship because the extra height required for the medical facility. Is there a requirement as far as our criteria we're supposed to develop? Is there supposed to be undue hardship on the setback as well? Because I'm not seeing undue hardship there.
It's not contained in the language of the code. It just states, not blatantly, but it says in the code in 161930 that it shall have a offset of 20 feet unless the planning commission decides otherwise, but no less than 10 feet. But it didn't have any criteria associated with it.
Yeah, that's something that'll be addressed in the code update. The language was added to the code about 10 years ago, and it's been used several times. It's essentially allowing the planning commission the discretion to approve a 10-foot offset if aren't any negative impacts to the neighboring properties, or if there's no reason that's necessary for the 20-foot offset. So it is, I guess it doesn't require a hardship demonstration, and we don't have criteria in the code. It really is something that's discretionary for the planning commission to decide.
One thing we did do, which I'm not sure if this helps any argument at all, is that we looked at different general commercial zoning districts to see what others are doing, and a lot of them were at 10 feet. So that was something that we kind of leaned in the favor for. All right, maybe this isn't as big a deal as requiring that 20 feet as we thought.
Yeah, one of the things I look at in these situations is basically if there's, like Scott said, if there's any negative impact to the surrounding areas, the neighbors, and also if it's a safety or hardship to the general community itself. And I don't see that this would cause a hardship for anybody there. And so my personal opinion is that I'm okay with both of these to go forward with them. So just thought I'd throw that out there.
There is one, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
There's one other aspect that I don't think I might have brushed over, is something else that we look at for these offsets is whether or not there's other reasons to not grant it or grant it. And one of the things we look at is if it's a high visibility area, if it's a wall that's going to be really, really visible from the road. That doesn't happen here. That's something that's called out in landscape standards to try to buffer. It also isn't, I don't see the other piece in there, so I apologize. Anyway, that's one of the other things that we look at, is whether or not it's a visual impact too.
Okay. Any other comments, questions?
Mr. Chair, I move that we recommend approval of the waiver of Section 3B2 for the height design criteria for the corridor plan, allowing for the 37-foot on the independent living and 35-foot on the nursing facility, and also recommend approval on the lesser offset on the submitted plan is 15.3 feet from the southeast corner and 18.1 on the northeast corner of the building.
I'd entertain a second on that.
I second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Talon, seconded by Commissioner Foreman, that we recommend approval of the waiver from Section 3B2A for the height design criteria as noted by staff, and that we recommend approval of the lesser offset in Section 16-19-30 to the extent proposed as noted by staff. Those in favor of the motion will vote yes. Those opposed, vote no. And the motion carries 6-1. on to the next item, which is final site plan for Grasslands Park Subdivision, second filing, Lot 1. Carlin.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. The item before you is a final site plan approval for a multifamily development. What is unique from the other site plans that you had presentations on tonight is a multifamily site plan does require town board approval. The proposal was reviewed in accordance with Article 17 of the Municipal Code, specifically the site plan criteria, and additionally the multifamily criteria. The site is located west of 7th Street, north of Main Street, just west of Windsor Lake. This is part of an existing development. The Grasslands Park subdivision includes single-family development as well as 4 multifamily buildings that are located here to the north. One of those buildings is located directly north of this parcel, and an empty area over here is currently in the permit stages. These properties were approved back in 2002. This plan was...
Is that a question or a statement?
No, sorry. In 2002, there was a proposal for this exact site. The plan before you is almost exactly the same, with the exception that there were some fire, building, and development codes that were out of date, so the applicant has brought those up to standard. The site is zone residential mixed use, and it is surrounded by other residential mixed use properties, as well as the central business zoning district in this area. Over here is school district. And this just shows the existing area as it is today. There's also multifamily to the east, as well as single family, just a mix of uses in this area. There's trail system directly north, as well as other multifamily buildings. In let's see, right here we have the railroad tracks, and again here's 7th and Cedar Streets here, and Birch is over here. So just some views of the existing site. This is looking towards the school district buildings over here to the southwest. And this is looking to the west of the existing single family. Again, this is the property right here, this vacant area. This is across Highway 257, 7th Street. Here's the lake in the background, and this is a fourplex. And then the view south towards the railroad, there's some earthwork going on right here. And not in this picture, but over here is a playground. Here it is in this photo. And then to the north, the existing multifamily. And these buildings would look similar to the existing buildings in that neighborhood.
Now, is that park playground area there, is that still going to stay, or will that have to be removed?
Yes, that will stay.
Okay. Does that leave enough area there for, families to utilize for park and playground? Because It seems like it's gonna get pretty tight with the additional bodies that are gonna be in that area.
Right, true. Now, this site does contain approximately 50% landscaping, which I'll get to in the next slides. Here you can see that some of these units on the bottom level here, they do have some little private patio areas, and then let's see, a couple different building types, but there's a combination of 8-plex and 16-plex. And this site has 3.4 acres. There will be 4 buildings, 1 8-plex and 3 16-plexes for a total of 56 units, each having 2 bedrooms. 52% of the land is landscaped with just a 16.3 building coverage, which is pretty low. They do meet the requirements for livable open space in the multifamily district criteria. And a relatively short building, only 19 foot 6 inches, and 105 parking spaces. 84 is what is required, 12 of those being accessible. The site plan here just shows that the 8-plex will be located over here, and then the 16-plexes as you get closer to 257 7th Street here. And here again is the tracks and the single family located here to the north, and the existing multifamily located over here to the north.
You know, on the site plan that you have up there right now, Carlin, it seems to me that 4th unit, the one on the easterly side there, outside of that, there, to me, don't look like a whole lot of room there for, you know, park area for kids to play, stuff like that. You know, I'm a little concerned about cramming a lot more people in this area, and yeah, they have 52% landscaped area, and they got the patios off the back, but when I've seen a lot of kids playing ball in that area there, you know, just having a place to congregate there. That's a little tough to do on the patio, so that's my
Right.
concern on this. So.
Would you show the extents of the existing park site on that site plan? Where the drawing you had? Just
This one?
point out where the park shelters and everything is.
Sure, let's see if I can zoom in here. Oops. Can
So it's that northeast corner,
Right here.
and on the, I think that other building on the southeast side of the drain pan there, if you, right there, I think that's all part of the park that's existing.
I? Right.
And the layout and the density, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, is the same as what's contained in the approved site plan that's existing.
Correct.
So it isn't increasing density, it is just updating the drawings from what was previously approved to meet today's standards. So although it is, staff doesn't disagree, it is adding a lot of households to that area, but it is consistent with what was previously approved.
Yeah, I just, that was my only concern with that area there, just, you know, when you have that many households coming in, you're gonna have quite a few kids, and you wanna have something available for them so they can
Right. And just
not
going,
qualify for full ride scholarship, you know, 3 hots and a cot, so.
sure. And just going back here to the overall vicinity map. So you do have some park area over here, and there would be the ability to connect up here to the trail system, and then the trail system that goes around the lake. So they are in close proximity to some recreational amenities.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
Mr. Chair, are these low income? What's the price range on these?
I do not know
Don't know.
the price range, but you could
I don't
certainly
believe it's,
ask that of
Section 8.
the applicant.
I believe it's market rate housing.
Yeah. They did not pursue the workforce housing policy, so. And this, again, the landscape plan also showing the park area in here. And building elevation similar to what is existing today.
Still with the same black and white theme I see. Color
Right.
rendition, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry, you had a question?
Yeah, these rentals or condos?
I believe these will be rental. I might defer that to the applicant. I know early on, they had talked about these being townhomes, so maybe
So
the
it's
applicant can answer that.
Condos then, right?
Condos,
condos or town-
townhomes.
Well, there's a difference.
They originally were called as townhomes, but I believe that they'll now be apartments.
Yeah, so it's, I mean, townhomes and condos both can be rentals, so.
Mm-hmm.
Only difference between a townhome and a condo you own from the walls in.
Right,
Townhome,
and
you own the ground underneath it, so.
so
Yeah.
under the townhome scenario, if they were to keep it a townhome, the owners could own, the area below the building.
Right. You actually own the property it's on.
Right.
So. Okay. Any other questions?
Mr. Chair, I'm moving forward to the town board recommendation of approval of the final site plan as presented by staff.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Talon, second by Commissioner Bushelman, that we forward a recommendation of approval of the final site plan to town board as presented by staff. Those in favor of the motion will vote yes. Those opposed, vote no. And the motion carries 6-1. Thanks, Carlin. Communication from Planning Commission.
No, sir?
None at all. Mike? Jerry? Nothing here.
No communications.
Gentlemen, thank you again for filling the seats here. Mr. Foreman, you have anything?
No.
Travis?
No, sir.
Town Board Liaison, Ken?
Mr. Chair and Board, regarding the change in town administration, just want to update you on a couple of things. First of all, our number one priority from the board is to ensure that operations and procedures continue seamlessly and very smoothly. And to that extent, I want to compliment Patty Garcia, Crystal, her staff. The town clerk's office has picked up some additional day-to-day operational duties. I also want to give a strong compliment to all of our staff and their professionalism as they're picking up responsibilities to make certain that we continue things smoothly during this transition. Excuse me. Second two things we're working on right now, 2 and 3. One, we are considering hiring not an interim, but a town administrator who would help us manage some of the large projects that we have going on the next several months in town. And thirdly, we're in the process of reviewing several different search firms with the idea of hiring one that would assist with helping us develop a profile of what we want in the next town manager, what the community needs are going in the future, help us with recruitment and search and background checks and interview process. So that's kind of what we're working on right now.
Okay, good. So good information to know, Ken. Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. Communications from staff. Carlin?
Nothing further.
Paul? Melissa? Glad to be here, right?
Scott a question.
Yeah, after he gives his presentation. Do you have something, Scott, at all?
No communications.
Okay, Jerry, you had a
I just
question?
asked, what's happening with the old mill? I know they're proceeding. Can you give an update on it?
Yeah, it's been a couple of months since I've sat in on any meetings, but we did just get the letter from the state indicating that the State Historical Society has got it scheduled for their January meeting to take it off the National Register and off the State Register. And that will free up some requirements that they would otherwise be tied to going forward with a rebuild. But the plans that they've been working on would mimic the massing and the scale of the old building as it was. It'll be some slightly different building materials, obviously, but they're working through that with the architect and Safe Built to try and respect the history as much as possible and try and make it as close to what it was going to be, and still meet all the building codes that, now that it's been I guess, when it was previously reviewed, it was an existing building, so it qualified for a lot of flexibility under the existing building code. After it was destroyed, then it no longer qualifies for the existing building code, and it has to be looked at as new construction. So the Board of Adjustment recently approved a variance for the building location, because as a existing building, it was exempt. It was a legal non-conforming use. It was built before zoning and setback requirements. Now, technically, it would have to be built meeting setback requirements, but the Board of Adjustment approved that variance to allow them to keep the same footprint. And what you see going on right now, they are taking off the top layer, the top floor of brick that can't be salvaged. They've had structural engineer take a look at it, and they're able to use the lower portions of brick. Not from a structural standpoint, it's my understanding it'd be more of a skin, with the structural being within the building, but they're just taking off the top layer of brick right now and getting it weather tight for the winter, and then they'll be going through the site plan process to show us what changes are going to happen. They'll be working with the town board and management on I guess, they'll have to review the old incentive agreement that was previously approved, see what changes need to be made. But they're working through it, and they've got it's moving in a positive direction. So we're lucky that the property owner is, I guess they cherish the history of the property as much as the rest of Windsor does. So they're doing what they can to bring it back.
That's great that they're doing that.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Anything else, Scott?
No, sir.
Crystal?
No communication.
Just glad to be here.
Move to adjourn.
We are adjourned.